So over the weekend, a trade that I missed because I'm not going to lie to you, I was actually busy with family stuff this weekend and wasn't able to get to this podcast, and I do apologize for that. But Lu Dort is on his way to the Atlanta Hawks in a 3-team deal with the Dallas Mavericks. And we're going to talk a little bit about that trade as the Atlanta Hawks have now acquired 2 OKC players over the course of this offseason. We're going to talk about what this means for the team, which team won these trades as well. Plus, we got updates in regards to the Jalen Duren situation and other things. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Full Court Podcast. My name is Haize, and more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at the Full Court YT on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So, the Oklahoma City Thunder have traded Lu Dort to the Atlanta Hawks in the 3-team trade that also included the Dallas Mavericks. And this was a move that, a lot of people expected Lu Dort to be moved at the start of the offseason, but then it kind of started seeming like maybe he wasn't going to be moved, and maybe the Thunder were content in kind of keeping their roster together, even despite the salary concerns and things like that. And that's what it seemed like it was going to be. Well, now the trade has now been made official, and they decided to move on from Lu Dort. In this trade, the Hawks acquire Lu Dort, Ryan Nembhard. The Mavs get Zaccharie Risacher, the former number 1 overall pick, in a 3-team trade, and the Thunder are going to get a bunch of second-round picks in regards to this one. Now, at the end of the day, this is a really good trade, I think, for the Atlanta Hawks. Being able to get Lu Dort in there, what he provides defensively and helps with that defensive identity, a championship defensive identity that the Atlanta Hawks are going to try to breed here. I love what the Hawks have done this offseason with their roster. Since moving on from Trae Young, they've just moved so diligently, and even before that, you could say, but just so diligently in the team that they want to build and the style of play that they want to have, that you got to, like, if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, it's not going to be because it wasn't their vision. Of course, they had Nickeil Alexander-Walker last year, who absolutely exploded, averaging over 20 points per game, still bringing that defense. He paired really well with what they had with Jalen Johnson down there. And so now things change a little bit with this team. Now, right now, the projected starting lineup is CJ McCollum at the 1, Nickeil Alexander-Walker at the 2. You have Dyson Daniels at the 3, or interchange those guys. Jalen Johnson at the 4, Onyeka Okongwu there at the 5 as well. They also brought in Jock Landale for some depth in regards to that one as well. Zuby Ejiofor, a player that they drafted also in regards to this one. And they add to that this offseason Lu Dort and Aaron Wiggins, 2 players from the OKC Thunder that understand and have played in the team, played in the system, played off high usage players and know how to still make their impact on the game. And this is huge, right? I think in regards to this one, you got to look at this and say this was a win by the Atlanta Hawks in regards to this one. But the questions now sit for the OKC Thunder. Was this a smart move, or have they lost too much of their potential identity with what they've done for the OKC Thunder? On the side of this, that it's a smart move. They make a move. They're now below the second tax apron. They've created a $17 million trade exception as well that they can use at the season. And the reason why that's important for a team like the OKC Thunder, we saw what they did, for example, like with Jared McCain. This is not a team that is afraid to tinker. They're going to be open to doing those type of things in that. And I think also when you look at the Thunder and what they did this offseason, they have potentially could move Isaiah Hartenstein at any point this offseason if they decide to do that. They can move the young player in Thomas Sorber to get a more kind of proven player. And the Thunder are just a team that continue to stay ahead of the curve, right? They stay ahead of the decision-making. And them getting a $17 million trade exception for a lot of teams, I would look at that and say they're probably not going to use that. But with them drafting a Damar, right, and having a player like Thomas Sorber, who was a player that was highly coveted in that draft, they could look to move him. They can look to move Isaiah Hartenstein. They also got Bennett Stritz in regards to that, another player that can replace kind of what Aaron Wiggins brought to that team. So again, they continue to be a team that just restocks and does those type of things. Now, where they may regret it is that Lu Dort was an all-defensive first-team player. And you have Alex Caruso still in the building, but that physical defense, he's one of the few players that can guard equally well out on the perimeter as he does in the paint. And so that's a big kind of miss that you have there. But you have the big presence in the Damar who may be able to help a little bit with that as well, right? So I think overall, the balance, it could be a 50-50, but because it's the OKC Thunder, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in regards to this, and I think that they're going to find something really good in regards to that one. So now, the salary purge that the OKC Thunder did over the offseason, right? I think it shows really great discipline, right? The front office, the second tax apron is brutal, and it causes so much lack of mobility for teams to make moves. And so OKC is thinking ahead. They're preparing for future contract extensions. They're preparing for the long-term answers that they have on this team. And they've accumulated 7 second-round picks this offseason, which when you have a $17 million trade exception, you can use that as well, right? Good teams have to make painful moves, and they have to do that before things explode, right? And that's what they've basically done in regards to this one. And I think that in a while, like, yeah, it could be a little too conservative financially. Lu Dort, Joe and Aaron Wiggins, like all these players, Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, they all had very useful roles on this team. Make no mistake about it. And it's going to be interesting to see how players step up and replace that. But second-round picks, usually you don't get elite players with that. But again, it's the OKC Thunder. They have a little bit of different balance in regards to that one. The Atlanta Hawks add a defensive monster, though, in regards to this one. And so, I also think, don't forget, Lu Dort also had seasons of averaging, 16, 17 points per game. So I think pairing him with Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you have an elite point-of-attack defense in regards to that team. And in a lot of ways, you can simulate kind of what the OKC Thunder did with all the waves of different defenders that they have there. He brings off playoff tested toughness in regards to that one, and they keep more than $50 million in cap space available for next summer, right? So the Atlanta Hawks have set themselves up to really make a move up the East this year, as a lot of teams have. And overall, like, even with Lu Dort last year, averaging 8.3 points per game, like, that's nothing to knock at for the defense that he brings in regards to that one as well. Now, Atlanta does need spacing, and then you're going to hope that Nickeil Alexander-Walker can bring some of that and stuff like that. But I do think, the balance between reliable shot making and defense is where you have to go in regards to that one. Lu Dort, Daniels, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they're like, how often they share the floor is going to be really interesting to see in regards to that one. Their perimeter defense is absolutely scary, one of the scariest in the NBA as well when it gets down to it. And getting Ryan Nembhard in this as well, I think, don't overlook that. He averaged 5.3 assists as a rookie. He gives them another guard that can help organize the offense, get other players involved, especially when, Jalen Johnson's off the court. He's a low-cost playmaking guard that can do a lot of things in regards to that one. And, of course, the main story is Lu Dort and what he can bring, but don't overlook that acquisition as well. Now, for the Dallas Mavericks side of this, they land Zaccharie Risacher, a former number 1 overall pick, that they have the time now to see if they can recruit the value in it. He's 21 years old. And yeah, the former number 1 overall pick, there's still talent there, and he fits the young core timeline. And Masai Ujiri is going to really give him an opportunity and time to see what he can develop into. Now, Risacher has to prove it. He averaged 9.6 points per game, 3.8 rebounds. That's just not enough for the position that he's expected to play. But for a team like the Dallas Mavericks that still have Kyrie Irving and young, really good players on this team like PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, those type of players in regards to that one. They also got Musa Sis. Is I think how you pronounce it. But Zaccharie Risacher now gives them another upside player that you can look at and try it. 6'8", over 200 pounds. You get to see what he can turn into and develop. He's only in his second year. He shot the ball 36% from 3 so far. You're going to see if you can round that out with him. But you get a former number 1 overall pick going into his third year on a team that is in the middle of a rebuild, although they're doing it a little bit differently than what most people expected. And I don't think that that's a bad thing for him. But I think the Hawks won this trade. There's just no doubt about it. In my opinion, the Hawks won this trade. You get the best player in this deal. You get balance to your team. You keep your future cap space. You get all these type of things. You won. The Mavericks, they walk away with a player that got some upside swing. And if it works out, they can end up being the winners of this trade. And then the Thunder, they protected their future. They protected their flexibility. And that's not a bad thing either. This is a good trade for all these teams. And we're going to see how it's going to work out for these guys. But let me know down below, when you look at this trade and how it affected all 3 teams, who do you think won this trade? And do you think the OKC Thunder have maybe given up too much of their identity in this offseason that it could come back to bite them in their ass? Or do you think they're going to be okay? Let me know that part down below. All right, moving on from that. Jalen Duren has reportedly that there are some modest progress in the talks between Jalen Duren and the Pistons. And this is a good sign, right? Bringing back Jalen Duren should be a top priority of the Detroit Pistons. I don't care that he had a rough couple of playoff series. I don't care about that. When you have this young of a player who's an all-NBA player, you sign him. Now, listen, I'll say this. If he does have another rough playoff series or whatever else, being as young as he is, on the fact that you're probably still not going to max him out, you can move that. You can still move it. Lock in the player, get the best assets. You're not going to get a great sign and trade deal as it stands right now. So making progress to be able to sign him is going to maintain your flexibility. It's kind of best for your team overall. And then listen, if you want to move him after you sign him in a year or so, you could probably still do that. As long as he doesn't completely fall off in the regular season, there's still going to be value. There's still going to be teams that look at Jalen Duren, and they're going to be willing to take a shot on that upside. There's still pressure in this situation, right? Because he's not signed, though. And it's still a threat for him to take that qualifying offer. And if he takes that qualifying offer, how that looks for you can get very, very dangerous and very ugly in the long run of things if he ends up taking that deal. So, that's what you have to look out for if you're the Detroit Pistons. But it's good that there is some forward progress being made in these talks, because that's what you want to see from this one. You want to try to get it going. You want to try to get it all locked in. And if you do that, great. I think that's the thing that you want to do. So the Pistons are a team that I like a lot of what they've done this offseason. I like it even more. Even the John Collins signing, a player that I'm not extremely high on, I like that even more if you keep a player like Jalen Duren down there and he actually can help kind of space out that team and make it make a little bit more sense balance-wise. When you're a young team like the Pistons, you don't want to lose a young talent like Jalen Duren this early into the process. You just don't want to do it. So if you can avoid that, while you still got Paul Reed there, all those type of things, Ron Holland hasn't turned into what you hope he was going to turn in yet too. You don't want to give up on him. Keep this young team together. Let these guys continue to grow and develop, and then figure out what it is at that point in time. That's all you got to do, and we'll see what's going to happen in that regard. But let me know your guys' thoughts on that down below. If the Pistons are able to retain Jalen Duren, do you think that's the best situation for them going on over the course of the season? Or are you in the camp that it's like, move on from him, deal with it, just move on and see where the chips fall where they may in regards to that one? Let me know what you guys think on that part down below. That's it. This is the first episode. I am going to drop 2 episodes today. I will be dropping an episode later on today talking about the Rookie of the Year race for the 2026-27 season, because I think it's going to be a big one between the 4 players of Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer, Darren Peterson, and AJ DeBonsa, of course, but there are also some players with the outside chance of making it even more interesting than that. So stay in tune with us for that. Sound off down in the comment section on how you feel about all these topics. Always want to hear from you guys on that. Make that comment section live, jumply, all those type of things. Otherwise, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at the Full Court YT on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. The NBA show at gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything basketball and NBA related. And I'll catch you guys next time I feel like making a video. In this case, it's going to be later today. Peace, y'all.
Been a presentation of the Breaks Media.